I got a, I got, I got a Sally right there. Right? That's her back legs and her tail hanging down. And then I got Bonnie over there. She's looking at me, you know. And then in back of Bonnie, I got Goldie, and they're laying on my bed. Well, one of my beds. The beds that I use right now. The bed that I use right now. And you know, I'm just saying, you know, Sally's the only one that puts her legs like that behind her when she lays down all the time. She has her legs going in back of her. And none of my other dogs have ever done that. She's the only one. And you know, I've been with these dogs all their life, and I know them all pretty well. I know everything about them, and they're all wonderful beings. Well, it's not really what I want to talk about. When I woke up, as I was waking up from, I was having like two dreams at the same time. Like I was multitasking in my dreams. I had two dreams going at the same time, and one of them, well, when I woke up, like you know, something, you know, told me, or I told myself, or whatever, that this life is I'm not going to say only a template, because I'm not going to reduce it to something like as if it was nothing, but I'm just going to say it was presented to me that this life is a template. And kind of thinking, you know, like I use the metaphor of a sponge. I kind of started with that metaphor. And my life is like being a sponge, and it takes a little bit of work to squeeze it out. And then when I squeeze it out, you know, you get mostly just dirty water. But everything is meaningful. I mean, I know that. But you know, like a black hole, for example. You know, it's phenomena in nature that you know, speak to us. You know, a black hole, if something gets sucked inside a black hole, it is squished down into like nothing. But everything that was is still in that little speck of like nothing. And that little speck of nothing contains the whole universe. Kind of like squeezing out the sponge sometimes, you know. Anyway, that's a abstract. I can't even hardly figure out myself. But I began thinking when I woke up, you know, about my family and my early thinkings, especially about you know, well, thinking about the women who've been impressive in my life, and you know, thinking about my aunts, my Aunt Jackie, my Aunt Barb, my Aunt, who were they? My Aunt Jackie and my Aunt Barb. I got three aunts. I know I have another aunt on my mom's side. My mom had Aunt Barb, Aunt Jackie. Oh, seems like I had another one. But I don't know, maybe it was just my Aunt Barbara, my Aunt Jackie, and my mom. Well, to me, they all seemed kind of like, when they got together, they would all of them was, fix themselves up, made themselves look pretty, and would get together, and it was a special time when they could reunite and everything. They would get together, and actually get together, and a special time for them would be to read the Bible and pray. And sing. And talk in tongues. And I remember when everybody became Christians. And my grandma, my grandma used to kneel down every day and and do her rosary, say her prayers, kneel down at the couch, and she was devout. Well, I mentioned my my uncles, I wrote that poem, something about, my four uncles, Carl and four men standing tall. Well, I had another uncle. See, those uncles were from my step-grandfather. Those were his boys. And my biological grandfather, who my grandmother was married to, they had three girls, and Barb, and Jackie, and my mom. I don't know why it seems like there was another one. If there is, I'm really astounded that I'm having such a mental block. Seems like it was, though, but I guess I'm wrong. And my Uncle Ron came from my grandfather. His last name was Witten. His first name was Charlie. And he became an alcoholic early on, and kind of dictated the rest of his life. He was a bad alcoholic. And but my Uncle Ron and my Aunt Tony, my Uncle Ron, he left, he had some kind of beef with my grandma. I think it was because he didn't like what my grandma, he was older, and he didn't like what my grandma getting divorced from his dad and getting involved with somebody else, and I don't know, before my time. But I just he was really never in the area, and never around my grandma. He didn't come visit for any special occasions or anything, like my other uncles did. They lived closer. But he was like my Uncle Mike in a sense that he went out and he went on. I mean, he forged his own life, and he's a smart guy. I mean, a lot of people are smart, but there's, smart people, and everybody has smart people in their life, and they are successful, and they achieve their goals, and they forge their way, and they're industrious, and they become more than they started out with, and they realize that other people can do it too, and they live a structured life, and they know how to do it, and they teach people how to do it. Like he taught his kids how to be successful just like he was. And, you know, when I went to his house, I remember when one of my cousins, one of his boys, getting married. And so I was at my dad's house in Indiana, and he lived in Illinois. And I had a car, an Oldsmobile Omega, and I got out of my way. I was gonna miss the wedding. I was going like, I had that thing floored, man. I was going down this highway like over 100 miles an hour, and this cop, you know, waved me down. You know, I mean, cop waved me down. I mean, you know, I could see him way up in the road. You know, there wasn't much traffic. I didn't think there was anybody around. They must have got me from a helicopter or something. He gave me a ticket. I had to pay him on the spot. And I never heard of that before. I mean, to this day. But actually, I paid him. But you know, I had money to travel on. I was young. I was actually young. I mean, I wasn't even 20 years old. I mean, I was probably, I don't know, 17 or 18 or something. Maybe 19. I don't know. But I remember when I went to see him, you know, one of the first things he asked me is, well, he said, you know, to me, what do you think about Reaganomics? I didn't even know what he meant. Reaganomics. I didn't know what he meant. And kind of a little humiliating for me, but I realized when I entered into his house, I was entering into a stratus of society that, you might say, that was above and beyond anywhere that I had ever ventured. He had a grasp on things that I never even heard about. And he was, him and his wife Tony, you know, they were very good people. I remember his daughter Darla playing the guitar. You know, she went into her room to practice, and I went in to watch her, and she was playing the song. I think it was by the Beatles. It was called Angie. Angie. You know, or maybe it was Rolling Stones. I don't know. I think it was the Beatles though. Anyway, I remember going, you know, he got his kids involved in playing golf, and you know, of course, like golf was you know, way out of my league, you know, like you know, golf is for like a different class of society. I was never even near, and I went with him, you know. I seen this guy kid, you know, somebody hit the golf ball with a golf club, you know, real hard swing and everything, and it clicked off to the side and hit this guy straight in the face. You know, ambulance had to come and everything. Yeah, well, that was my experience at golf. I've played golf, you know, since then. But you know, he made a basketball court and stuff for his kids. You know, he poured it himself. He was involved in the power company, the electric company. And anyway, yeah, I just wanted to say that because I was thinking about my Uncle Ron and the relationship between him and my grandmother. And it was always like a big deal, like if they could get my grandmother and my Uncle Ron to talk on the phone, like maybe like during Christmas, like during, everybody would gather together at my grandma's house, you know, they would try to make a phone call to, you know, somebody who wasn't there, like, you know, maybe my Uncle Mike or like, you know, my Uncle Ron. And you know, there's certain kind of things in life that are a little bit sad, you know. Families break up and don't talk to each other. Like, I don't talk to my brother, my half brother, my brother Scott. He's my only blood brother, and he has a different dad than me. And I would have had another brother, but he died. He was older than me. He died as a baby. But I don't know why I said that. It just felt like I needed to say it. Sometimes, I feel like I need to say certain things just to get them off my chest in some way, so I can, practice my guitar. It's kind of hard for me to practice my guitar when I got stuff on my mind. It distracts me. But and I talk about practicing actually more than I even practice. Seems like, but not really. But I don't want to make it out to appear that I'm not trying to bluff myself or anybody else. I need to buckle down. But I was thinking about when I was a kid, my first girlfriend in first grade. I don't even remember anybody else in first grade except for her. And I remember when I went to her house one time. I know I went a couple of times, at least 1 or 2 times, it seems. But I remember having the feeling like, no, she's bigger than this. Like I went into her. You might say, this is a word that I impose on a way that I can describe my memory back then. Like construct. Like I went into her construct, and I realized she wasn't limited to this construct. She was bigger than this construct. Her life, to me, was much more than the construct in which she lived. Somehow it's just that she was bigger in my mind, and then she could be confined to a little house. And I remember her for a long time. And I remember my cousin Jody. I used to love my cousin Jody. I mean, we were best friends, and we always played together. We were the same age, and we were really tight. And the time went on. Of course, we drifted apart and everything. And she changed and I changed. And we realized life conforms people to the life that they're subjected to, and it's not the same as when you're little kids. We have and I always seen my cousin Jody, like I can see her more vividly as a child than I actually can in a real person today. Like the last time I seen her, she was much different than as I remember her as a child. I mean, she became an adult and everything, different. But I think it's good to realize that it's still the same person. Like when I recall myself as a kid, I realized that I am still the same person, and she is still the same person. And people take on different forms. Like even my Aunt Barb. I mean, my aunts were like angels to me, But when my Aunt Barb talking about voting for Trump, during the first go around, I thought, in my opinion, Trump is like Satan from hell. I mean, there's nobody more wicked and more perverse than that son of a bitch. I swore like that intentionally, because just to represent my disgust for that man, and kind of hatred for that man. It'll make me want to puke when I even think about him. But I gave my next door neighbor a ride home from the airport the other day, and you know, we're talking about Trump, and I don't tell people my disdain for him, really, you know. I don't offer it, you know, but you know, he said, you know, we were talking about his arrogancies, and you know, both of us concur he's not a president, you know, he's not a politician, I should say. He's a businessman, and you know, in business, you know, you cheat, you lie, and you steal. You know, if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. That kind of deal. And it's a cutthroat kind of mentality businessmen take a lot of times. You know, they have no regard for anything else other than the bottom line, which is the almighty dollar, and making themselves rich. And you know, this thing disgusts me about him. You know, he's not looking out for the country. You know, he's looking out for his own self. And that's it. And how could you be president of the United States and only be looking out for yourself? But it's true, in my opinion. That's why I call him an imposter and a fake. Well, he's always been a fake all his life. You know, everybody knows that. You know, but I guess they say, you know, fake it till you make it. Well, it doesn't stop there, you know. I think about all the other women, you know, that have made an impact on my life. You know, I mean, not like all. Like my experience with women is actually pretty small, but you know, I remember my first girlfriend, and and of course, you know, remember, you know, both women that I'd been involved with and had a child or two children with, and I remember another girlfriend I had for a while. I remember girls that I liked, and you know, this time in my life, I mean, I don't know, I don't know how long it's been since I actually pushed a knife into my neck, but I remember, you know, one girl, I mean, her name is Joy, and, you know, I met her when I used to go to this brewery, you know, I was introduced to when I used to rock climb, and right around the corner. And then I kind of fell in love with the IPA beer, and I really started liking it, you know. And I continued there for a pretty long time. I don't know, at least, you know, 5 years or so at least. I mean, all together, I mean, I've known the place for, like, you know, a long time. I mean, you know, it was a long time ago. But you know, I dreamed about her. I actually dreamed about her coming to me and kissing me. You know, I think the dream came out of nowhere. I don't know. It wasn't. I mean, I always have thought about her. You know, I always liked her and everything. But yeah. But you know, I find myself even like you know, today thinking about her for some reason. You know, a lot of times I think about her for no reason at all. I mean, it's not like I'm, you know, talking to her really. I mean, I used to talk to her a little bit on Facebook, but she didn't really pay me much mind or anything. Don't seem to me. But you know, one time I actually tried to call her. Yeah, I used to have her phone number. You know, don't anymore because, you know, my phone's got stolen and stuff like that. I don't know. You know, I switched platforms from Google to Apple, and I don't know, different stuff. But you know, I don't know. Sometimes certain women, you know, represent things in your mind, and I don't really know what the connection is my I was kind of thinking about her. I don't know what the reason is for. I decided recently that, I just pray for her. You know, she's a beautiful person, and simple person, not really assuming, and not haughty or anything, and down to earth. I don't know. I kind of like her spirit, I mean, I'm not gonna say I kind of like. I do like her spirit, even as I recall it, in my mind today. I don't know what I think about her, but I do, and you think about different people in your life, and I realize, good chance I'll probably never ever see her again in my lifetime here. But maybe if this is just a template, if our life here is just a template, this is just a construct, for a molding for a more permanent and bigger reality, and it must matter in some way, and we must be connected somehow. And all the people that I think about in my life, there's different people, even people I've worked for. I got a fellow I used to work for, and a lot. I can't really, I don't want to really categorize people or anything like that. Suffice to say, I liked them. I'm not even going to say the name, but, well, I always think about them, different people I think about and stuff, and it's meaningful to me, and kind of like sometimes you want to go back in time and replay that video, maybe rewind it and then make a couple edits. Make a couple edits, turn, like making a movie, fix it, make it better, make it more worthwhile. Yeah. I just, when I say that, the sense that I get is that this life really is important. It's important, what we do here. And I think it's really important to try to bring the stuff that's inside out. Like that cross and stuff I have in my front yard and that big sign and everything. Well, I envisioned that in my mind before I ever made it. And I just happened to have the pieces to make it with. You can't buy those 20-foot long 6x6s. They just, in like Lowe's or Home Depot. Those things, a special order. But I happen to pick that thing up out of a empty field, and I think it was used for either a parking, or something. But it was a place where they demolished everything that was there, and they left that, and they left it in the field, and I seen it, and I scooped it up. I knew what a rare find it was, and it came to be. That's the vertical of my cross. Yeah, it was big, and it was a lot of work to make that thing. I had to buy stuff. I had to use stuff that I had, and the stuff that I had just happened to pieces just happened to come together. But it was a lot of work lifting it up. That's for sure. It took me several weeks, maybe a month, maybe 2 months. A lot of work, a lot of dangerous work. Even climbing that tree, I used my climbing gear to actually anchor myself off when I got up into the tree so that if I did fall, I wouldn't, you know, fall to the ground and break my neck. But yeah, I did it by myself. I had a lot of ingenuity. 30 minutes. All right, that's it. Bye.